Well, hello everyone. It is the first Friday in August, 2023, Friday the 4th of August. I am Delbridge. I'm out of uniform because I'm waiting on some freight that has to be dropped off at the road, and I have some help coming to move a piece of electrical equipment that unfortunately may get wet on its way up to the dry. So I'm a little bit pushed for time on this. We'll get going here in just a second. I want to give you an update. There are good people in this world. Last week I reported how everything is constantly changing in this world. Keeping up with technology is probably the harder part of doing this particular job because everything constantly changes. Everything constantly changes. Like, I have to update my videos now because Twitter is no longer Twitter. Twitter is now X, and I have to redo the closing. I haven't done that yet to change the icon from the bird to the new X. And it's just one thing after another. You can spend your entire, or the bulk of your entire day on the technology instead of on the job of finding you the best sales that you can have, whether you're selling or you're buying, to get that transaction going. Now, some good news from last week. I showed you just something typical that we run into, a copyright accusation of, basically it's theft. If they're accusing you of violating copyright, they're accusing you of theft of stealing something that belongs to them. And unlike America, which was built on the premise, unlike England, that we have the right to be assumed innocent till proven guilty, and you have to prove, the accuser has to prove their point. The onus is on them to prove you did something wrong, not the other way around. But in social media, apparently that's probably our least American thing we have, where they can just accuse you of something, especially with like YouTube, where you have to prove you're innocent after someone accuses you of something. Now, we responded, we appealed, we showed our date, our receipt that I showed you, and they pull back their complaint. It's just a shame that the world is like that, where we're full of accusers, and the onus is on you to constantly defend yourself. But if you want to do like a home purchase or home sales by yourself, you certainly have that right if you want to do that. And working with a professional like me does not guarantee that someone's not going to accuse either party of something that they're not guilty of, but it is the nature of the business. That's why some people are quite cagey and really don't give you any kind of information of value. Now, we got to get this thing shot, get it put together, hopefully between now and the 12-hour freight window that they'll come by. Even the cable guy gives you 4 hours. We'll tell you 4 hours, which of the 4-hour window they're going to try to hit. So we've got to get this done. I've got to get some tarps cut to cover the box. We can staple it before it leaves the truck in case it does get rained on. We don't want to ruin a multi-thousand-dollar piece of equipment over a little bit of rain and a delivery date. So we got to get to that. So let's get started with today's show. If you like this content, please go to calldeltosell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you when each Friday's blog has been uploaded. Thank you. Okay, what I have for you on tap will be fairly short. We'll still do our numbers at the end. We'll see what they're trending as, and we'll look at this right here. Now, this is from Real Tracks. I have it up here. That's our source. And what it is, we're going to look at last full month's worth of closings, see what we've got. We see here on this line, the new listings in July were 609. That's the new properties coming into the system, showing us what we've got. That is down 20% month over month. That's from May, June. So that would be from June. It's down 20% year over year. They're 26% down from July of last year. So we're still shrinking our new listings. We have under contracts. We have them coming up a little bit because we are selling what's available. So you need to get busy if you want to sell. Now is the time to do it. Even with the higher interest rates and the uncertainty, we're still selling. We have our active inventory. We went up a little bit last month. Year over year is up a little bit over the other time. So the market is still heating up a little bit slow, but it's heating back up. And it does look like, in some, depending on what numbers you look at, it may look like things are in fact slowing down, and they may have from their crazy peak post-COVID. Total inventory is actually up 6%. You can see it's fairly stable. Part of our numbers, we go through this every month, and we know that they're fairly stable. They don't change a lot. Closings are down a little bit. We may have some that are falling through or being delayed a month so that they're getting shoved out just a little bit. Sales price average has gone down. That's an average price. Average differs from median, and median is the most commonly occurring. Average is, of course, where we take the big boys in there and they can skew that a little higher in there. But unless you're in the market for a 1.2 or 2.5, something like that, $1 million house, this is probably a more meaningful number. That's what I use typically, is the median sales price. Average days on market closed is up 142%. So we are slowing down in the transaction. You need to understand that. We're down a little bit, speeded up a little bit from June, and we see that the average list price active, this is the average, see how much difference we have it from the median. Sales price average, sales price list active, we're having more price adjustments maybe than we've had before because of the trouble that we're having getting people into houses finance-wise. I mean, not everybody's made out of money. Not everyone has a printing press. In fact, I think the only one that has a printing press is the government, and that's what's got us in this inflation mode that we're in. List to contract, that time has gone up a little bit, 87% year over year. So again, it's slowing, but the volume is kind of adjusting as we go along. Contract to close, list to close, month of supply. We have a little bit more month of supply than we had before. And let's make my little face go away. See if this works. There we go. And now we can see those numbers. May, we had 42, 23 on June was 39, and 43 back in July. So we're up over May. We're up significantly over June. So everything tends to average out. Honestly, it averages out. You can't get too hung up on your month to month, but it's good to know what we have going on. So that is a Rutherford County residential site built type thing. I did exclude out of these numbers, I did exclude the trailers, the factory built homes that are under the HUD program for manufactured housing. We also have what we call the modular home, which is different. It is built to the IRC, not the HUD standards, and those are run out of those homes. That program is run out of the state of Tennessee, and it uses the IRC, the same thing your house does. And unless something has changed, they need to be on permanent foundations for anything for the last several years. So you pretty well must get a factory-built home of a specific design that has been pre-approved by the state of Tennessee and brought into the house. So let's get to our numbers and get this over with. Hopefully I can get this mixed and we won't have too much of a delay at the end of the day getting this posted. Thank you very much. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, Call Del to Sell. That's one L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. All right, the previous week ending 7/28/23, we had 18,397 opportunities. That includes the coming soons. That was up over the previous period, but not dramatically, a couple hundred looks like. We had 4,074 in the under contracts still showing. That was down a little bit over the previous week. The ratio between those remained at, well, actually, no, it fell from 23 to 22%. This week, 8/4/23, we had 18,178. That's down on the opportunities, which would include your actually ready to buy homes that are in inventory. That went down just a little bit. We had 4075 in the under contract still showing. That went up just a tad, but the ratio between those two remained the same at 22%. So we have a jobs report out this week. Today, I think it is. We had the downgrading of the U.S. from AAA to AA plus because of the inconsistency and the constant debt that we're running up. These are real things. I don't have any reason to believe that interest rates, which are related to, but they're not directly pinned to the Fed's numbers when they're bringing up the cost of money. Things are slowing down a little bit. I'm seeing some of the building materials, not all, but some of the building materials have come down from their peaks. Lumber is a bit cheaper. Trim and millwork seem to be a bit cheaper. Cabinets don't appear to be much cheaper, but they're holding steady, and the delivery time is improving a little bit. If you have a home such as that, haven't heard anything about paint problems in a long time. We had a paint factory or something, or a component to paint burn about a year or two ago, and that drove the prices up. Seemed like we were just finding excuses to bring the price of everything we buy up. Fuel is going back up. That's not a good thing. But when you look at the big picture, the world is the way the world is, and you've got to have a place to live, and you might as well get into ownership versus renting if you can, because you're just paying someone else's mortgage in rent plus a little bit to cover the expenses and taxes and all the other stuff to go with it. So you might as well, in my opinion, if you can, start with home ownership if you hadn't. It can be a tough road to get started with, but you can do it. We can do it. We can find you someone in finance who can start working your options for you. Tell us what you're able to qualify for, what you can buy. Let's see if we can get something done before it gets even more expensive or more out of reach. If you feel like it's right at the tips of your fingers and maybe you can't get a good grasp on it, let's see what you can get a hold of. With proper searching, we might be able to find you something that you can get into that you'll like, and in a few years we'll parlay that into a better fit at the time in the future that you want to go. But it helps you with that, as your home is most likely still going to continue to increase in value. You'll, in my opinion, you run a better chance of outrunning inflation if you have a home purchase, because you've got it there. It's in your name. You're working on paying it off. You're making a little bit of progress. Any gains in the values can maybe keep you above getting underwater, even if you're a minimal loan to start with. If you were to find yourself prices drop a little bit and values drop a little bit over time, just hang with it. We've done enough of this long enough to know that in the long run, things tend to pop back up. We're having more people, the population's growing, we're having more people coming to Tennessee. Things are better now in inventory than we were a while back. Things are slowing it a little bit because of the challenge of the interest rates, but we're still getting it done, and it's still possible. Even in the midst of these mixed indicators of positive, inflation is coming down a little bit, but maybe fuel prices pop back up. Food, we've got a 3-month, I think it is, sales tax-free food purchase, so you can feed the family a little bit better. It's always going to be a mixed bag. There's never going to be a perfect time for both seller and buyer, and it takes both in cooperation to get a home sold. So let's get to that last bit and close. We appreciate you. It's every week, the few of those who watch the show, I appreciate you doing it. We'll see you next week.